Hello and welcome to the Recursive podcast again. I'm very excited about our next guest, who is wearing many hats. Hristo Hristov is a serial entrepreneur and has been so far heavily involved in the establishment of digital media in Bulgaria. He's an angel investor and partner at the VC fund 11 Ventures. He is also a mentor for startups in the entrepreneurial network Endeavor. He's a member at BESCO. He's also a member... Founders Institute, Power of BG.
Power of BG. The unknown organization.
The unknown organization, but very exclusive one. And currently he's the CEO of the private equity company HR Capital and also the CEO of Darik Radio. Hristo Hristov, welcome to the Recursive podcast. I'm very happy that you're here. Before we move to the variety of occupational activities that you have in your life, I wanted to go back a bit in time when you were young and you started your career actually as a journalist. I also saw that you had a brief time at the BBC.
Yeah.
How was it for you and how has this shaped your professional path?
Well, I started my career as a tennis coach. This is my first job. I was a tennis coach at Albena, a sea resort. And I was 16 back then. So before actually being a journalist, I was teaching Germans how to play tennis. After that, I was a sales consultant at Monsieur Bricolage, selling paints. After that, I did the same job in Monsieur Bricolage France. And only after that, I came to journalism. So I had a bit of learning to do before I went to journalism. But I started. Fun fact: my first interview ever was with Financial Minister Milan Velchev, and we were using cassette recorders back then at the time, and I had forgot to put in the tape. So I'm doing the interview and I see that there is no tape inside, but he's so passionate and telling different stories. And I'm like, okay. Thank you very much. Bye. And he's like, so it was one of my many bloopers as a journalist.
It wasn't a radio interview, I hope.
No, it was at an event.
Okay.
And there was some statistic being shared. And so I go to take the interview. So I was first working for the financial program. So I was a journalist for the financial program. And that's how I started to get a little bit more interested into financial markets, stock markets.
Do you have a financial background?
No. Also, fun fact: after my involvement in the journalism, way of producing content and especially on the financial subject, I did a brief, like 2 or 3 months. Work at Raiffeisen Asset Management, which is right next door.
They never got me to a job there. I also applied there, by the way, to the RBE.
Yeah.
I'm still sad.
Yeah. Because I wanted to understand more in order to be better prepared to ask the questions, because when I started, like all these financial talks, I couldn't understand anything. I was like, I don't know, 19 or whatever. And so I wanted a little bit of more of a financial background. And I went in there for a summer job. And it was really, really helpful. And after several years after that, I created some financial and business sites in order to democratize the knowledge and the content, because those closed circles, they know so much about the financial market, while at the same time the general population didn't have access to that knowledge.
So it was content meant for the bright audience.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Because it was really at the naissance of the stock market in Bulgaria.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very important that there is more information out there.
But I can't, imagine that it's been a huge audience back then. I can imagine it probably has been challenging. Yeah.
Yeah, in the beginning, yes. In the beginning, it's true. It was digital. We had to explain that this will be the medium of the future, and no one believed us. So they were like saying, yeah, internet, whatever. So it was a little. It reminds me a little bit of blockchain today. It's like this is a big thing. It's coming next, and people are like, yeah, it's interesting, but we're not sure whether it will survive the test of time, and so on and so on. Now, no one is questioning, and this was when I started the digital media business. This was 1 year after Facebook was started, so it was 2005. It's 2 years before YouTube is started. So it's like these things that we now are every day of our life didn't exist or were just at their naissance. So it was very, very early days. And like all these traveling, in the different aspects of journalism landed me again a summer job in BBC. It was amazing because we get to do a lot of partying. We were getting paid. Actually, for the first 2 weeks, they paid my lodging, and it was amazing. And we learned a lot about content and media, because they are like this ultra professional media organization that has survived the numerous decades and was one step ahead in the digital era. So I had a great teacher then. Yeah.
Well, it's also publicly, how do you call it actually, public broadcast or publicly funded?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
It definitely makes a difference of how, you scale and how do you expand. And
yes, but compared to other publicly funded media companies, like our publicly funded media companies, Bennett or Banner, it's like more of a very wide gap between them.
BBC is actually a paragon for how to operate a publicly funded broadcaster.
It's when I was in the BBC, I did also some very nice bloopers there. We were doing a news broadcast, and it was about some Russian dachi, which is like Russian villas, and it was so funny. And there was no reason to be funny, but we were 4 of us in the newsroom, and one started a little bit laughing, and then everybody was off laughing like crazy, and we couldn't stop and we couldn't interrupt the broadcast. And it's like one of the biggest bloopers in the BBC history. Actually, not after that, but like 1 year post, they closed the Bulgarian service in the BBC. Because they stopped considering Bulgaria as a developing country. So they shut it down. I always like to joke that it's because of me.
But what year was that? 2005. 2005.
Yes.
So from 2005, we're not a developing country anymore. Yes. I just wanted to memorize it.
Yes. And it was during the bombings in London.
Okay.
So 2005 were the bombings in the tube and the buses.
Oh, I remember. My brother was actually there back then already.
And and it was amazing to see how in the emergency situation the media was like a war machine. It was like everything was ticking perfectly. Amazing. It was such a nice job. And I was so inspired that like 2 months after that I started the first site. So and it was back then it was just copy paste. Like we don't know how to do this. Just look at it, copy it, please.
Okay, so you were basically curating the content and translating
totally,
it. To say it in a fancy way.
Yeah.
But why didn't you then continue as a journalist?
It's a good question. I guess the entrepreneurial journey grabbed me. So it was, I was excited about journalism and content and bringing information to a lot of people. But once I started the websites, there were much more, pressures and challenges to solve than the journalistic part only. Mm-hmm. So I had to solve funding, financial, sales, growth management, all of these. And once I touched it, then it was no going back to journalism.
I can totally relate to that.
It was an entrepreneurial journey. Like I didn't know back then that it was business. I didn't know that it was business, but I've always wanted to be on the entrepreneurial side. I've been trying to do like some ventures since I was like 12 or 13 or 14. It's crazy. I was in the.
And they were all in media? No.
No. It was. I was in the UK, and I went to this great roller disco. So it's like disco with rollers.
Yes.
And this is 96 or something like that. and I say, I have to do it in Bulgaria. And I come back, I start making plans, I figure out the location, I start calculating how much it will cost. And I'm like 12 or 13 back then. And it's a big joke. But I've had like many attempts like that. To do a cafe or a bar or whatever. So it's like whatever I saw interesting, I wanted to do it better. Yeah.
Very daring of you, actually.
So content and journalism and media was actually where I saw a big market which was totally underserved because there was a drastic need for information. It's like a little bit like blockchain again today. It's like you have the infrastructure, you have, let's say, the web or whatever, the protocols, but there is nothing there yet. So it's like the first who built something on top of it. It's like a flying start. It's very difficult to imagine if you started doing business on the internet in like 2016 or 20. It's like totally different environment.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you to make the comparison, because one would argue today that we're totally overloaded with content and information, and in fact we do need better mechanisms for selection and curation of content.
Totally. Yeah. So right now we are in abundance, and back then it was scarcity. So there was nothing. And whatever you put on the web, it's like immediately consumed.
Okay.
Immediately consumed.
Amazing.
On the revenue side, so you could get very easily to audience.
Now we're coming to the topic.
Yeah. You could get very easily to the audience, but you couldn't get very easily to the monetization because it was a new medium and no one from the business was believing in it, and we were selling.
People were considering it like as a joke. I remember. I mean, if you're not in the print, if you're not with this huge ad, then this is not advertising. Yeah.
We were selling banners by the day.
Yeah.
So buy this banner for today. And also, when you mentioned print, the only journalists you could get at the time were coming from print. So they were asking the question, like, who is going to be the editor that is going to edit my material before I post it? and it was like, how many articles do we have to write this week? And we were like, today you have to write 20. And they're like, this is not possible because in print they write like 1 or 2 or 5 per week. And they get verified and checked and so on and so forth. So it was like a very big shock, and we had a lot of training to do, a lot of work to do with these people.
It's a totally different pace.
Yeah.
Totally different. Well, at least you don't have, the whole stress with the printing. I remember because I was working also for a print magazine, and the day before the print, that was the worst day in the month, because it was a monthly edition in this case. Yeah. Because then everything is like, is going wrong, and you need to show all the designs, and the advertisers, they were all late.
Yeah, the fact, so it's like totally different to start a business in digital. In, let's say, the 2000s. Super different to start it in 2010, and nothing in common in 2020. So it's like the fact that you're successful in the 2000s doesn't mean that you'll be successful today.
Oh, definitely not. Yes.
Actually, today, some of the news outlets globally were not meant to be. They didn't start it on purpose. They just started because there was nothing out there. So some of the media outlets are actually publishers by accident. So they were super interested in some topic, for example, and they went digital. Because they couldn't, Oh,
that was all the blogger community.
Yes.
Also, yeah.
Yes, but a lot of them are still stuck in the 2000s. So they didn't evolve as publishers. So they remained, and this is a global thing. But because of the fact that you did it like 20 years ago, you have the SEO, you have the positioning, you have the brand. They were somehow lifted by the the growing market, and so, but there is a lot of those sitting around, not knowing actually how to grow, what to do, how to evolve, and they're like just existing.
So I see that you are, of course, contemplating a lot, where media is going to go. So I was a bit curious now in your new role as the CEO of Darik Radio. I'm sure that you have a lot of new ideas that you would like to implement, and I guess that the time is just not fast enough, for you to do that. Can you give us like a glimpse of what is the future of radio, and what is the future also of Darik Radio
very nice.
in our region?
Yeah, well, radio is like, we're no longer speaking about radio or television. We're speaking about audio and video and text. So these are the three forms of media. So when we're speaking about radio, we're actually speaking about broadcasting audio. And this is the way we like to think about it. We like to think about the audio business, the video business, and the text business. And in the audio business, you have the broadcasting side, which is the radio, and you have the digital side, which is the digital audio, the podcasts, traveling, digital audio traveling, regardless of whether you're listening to the radio or not. So it's like it can be in an article, it can be in a podcast, it can be in social, it can be in everywhere. So actually, what we're trying to do is adapt the audio to all the different channels, and then same goes for video. So the lines between audio and video are now blurring. 10 years back, one TV camera costs $100,000. Now it costs $2,000. And it's coupled together with AI, so it actually moves and tracks the movement of the people, and this goes the same for the microphones. So actually, what we see is as the technology gets cheaper, and as the market grows, so when there are more eyeballs looking for the content you create, and when there is scarcity for good content and quality content, then what happens is what happened in the digital age, like 20 years back, which is a lot of players come to the audio and video game, and once this happens, basically you can jump very easily from text to audio to video, and this is where we want to be positioned. So Darik radio will be one of the mediums for Darik. But you also have digital audio, you also have digital TV, you also have linear TV, you also have the text base, so you have everything. And basically it's like a convergence of formats. It's like convergence of formats.
Yes.
And yeah, it's interesting.
And what is it to run it as an independent media company?
Well, it's I don't see anything. I don't see a different. I don't see a difference. No.
Okay.
So if you compare it to working for a multinational, if you're running it as a standalone company, family-owned, then you basically the difference is the length for which you envision it in your head. So a multinational, a fund, they come on any given market, they stay for like 5 or 6 years, and then they exit the market, and whoever is in charge has to do like 20-30 quarters of good performance, which is mainly Excel managers that are looking for the bottom line, and then they're out.
Yeah.
So then they move to another. It's like a little bit how in the Matrix they refer to as as a virus. So you come to an environment, you basically take whatever you can take out of it, and then you go. And this is like normal because as a fund they have to buy, they have to sell, hire. So it's no long-term commitment. When you're involved in the ecosystem and working as a community pillar, and when you know that whatever you create, it has a reflection on the ecosystem, then you start looking at a little bit different KPIs, and so you're not so focused and fixed on the Excel and on the bottom line, and you're not so focused and fixed on the month or the quarter or whatever. So you look a little bit longer as a perspective.
Yes, it's very similar to also the recursive in a way.
Yeah,
we need to look also at the community, and how is this community evolving and growing, and reflect on our responsibility towards this community. And in your case, it's even a bigger community. It's like the whole population in a way. I guess everyone is listening.
Yeah, it goes two ways. So when you're managing a startup, you can be a little bit more hazardous and reckless and aggressive, and but Darik turned 29 years in January. So it's like a lot. So you feel a little bit more obliged to be a little bit more cautious in what you do. Yeah, it's like you feel a little bit more connected to the to society than to just, let's say, start something or kill it tomorrow, or if it doesn't work, close the company or something like that. It's different.
Before we move to the startup topic because it's also a huge part of your life, actually. I wanted to touch on, if you allow me, on a maybe still sensitive topic about your father, because you were talking about 29 years,
Yeah.
Darik. So it is one of his legacies. And unfortunately, last year, he passed away very untimely, very, very sudden. I happened to meet him, and I must say that for this brief period of time when I had his mentorship, it was a very decisive moment for me as well. And he was very impressive. So I was wondering, how has it been for you to have him so many years also on the side, and also working with him professionally, understanding how he, reflects on media?
It's a very big hole right now and gap, because it's we had an amazing relationship in terms of we had exactly 24 years of difference in terms of age, and so we could come together and discuss like what's it for your generation and how does this look from my generation. And I was always it was a very safe place for me to be, because basically I knew I could do anything, but I have always the rationale of the previous generation to say like, look, this is something stupid, don't do it, go this direction, or like think twice. And so I felt like nothing is impossible. Now I feel like a lot of things are impossible. So I feel like some part of me is missing, and it's because in the beginning, how you start by challenging whatever the previous generation has done. So you say, this is bad, this doesn't work, this is not good enough, and you build the new product, the new business, the new venture, whatever. And it took me quite some time to understand that the fundamentals for building a company, for entrepreneurship, for helping out your fellow community, or helping others, or being an active part in society, are actually the same. So the fundamentals don't change, and it's very often that when you're trying to do something new, you actually cut off some of these fundamentals. So you start thinking, because the old, let's say, whatever, radio or medium or something that has been done in such a way doesn't work, then everything doesn't work. So what I learned over time is to differentiate between models that are obsolete and that are no longer valid, or let's say terms of doing business, or like some nuances, but to differentiate those type of things from the fundamentals that actually is the way you've been doing business 100 years ago, and it will be the way you'll be doing business 100 years later. So it's the value creation. When you create value for someone, it will never be changed. There will be no business which doesn't create value for its customers, audience, or whatever. So this thing doesn't change.
Oh, that's amazing. It's actually giving you such a unique perspective on the things, because in the startup world, we speak a lot about disruption and, like totally erasing the old, which is not true. You just need to understand where is the value creation still happening.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Totally. It was very, very eye-opening for me to see this, because exactly like you say, you just draw the line and you say the world starts from today. but it never does. It never does. So learning to balance between the previous generation and the next generation is something we had in common. And it was a great. He was very open for my crazy ideas.
Yeah.
So it was very light. You felt very light. Actually, some very stupid things that I have done, or hopefully, I've been thinking of doing, but didn't do. Now, when I'm reflecting with my family, and I see his reaction to my ideas coming from the family, not the way he presented to me.
Yeah.
So I tell him, I have this and this idea. This is what I'm gonna do, and he's like, "Okay, if you want to do it, do it." And then he goes to my mother and he says, "It's the end. Hristo is doing this." So, but I never got that. So he was always empowering in terms of, and he was always letting me do my own mistakes, which I did a lot. Even when they seem critical and really critical, it's not like thank you. It's very good. It's very good to have that kind of support.
Very touching.
Yeah.
But I guess this also creates a very good basis for you for the succession management that you're going through now at Darik.
I think it's also once you see that, so once you can be successful without, let's say, undermining or denying the success of the previous generation. Now, what I have is I'm much more respectful for the next generation, and I'm much more willing to help them because I understand how it helped me. If you're in the way, if you're, let's say, if you're not so fortunate and you had to really draw the line between you and the previous generation, whether it's your family or it's your former boss or it's your previous partner or whatever, what I tend to see is those type of entrepreneurs, they tend to be much less passing the baton to the next generation after that. So they're much more, they encapsulate themselves, they become solo players, and they are much less willing to give back than someone who has had a good relationship with the previous generation.
True.
Very, very important. So that's our role now, to help the ones that are coming, and so that they don't feel like this barrier between the generations. Because I'm sure that if they receive the help and if they see that it's fine to receive help from the previous generation, they are going to be passing it as well. So it's
which also made me wonder. You just recently you had this IPO of HR Capital, and I can imagine that a lot of people also from the older generation, they were convinced that we should invest in the next ones. How did you convince them actually?
I have no idea.
Because I was at the press conference, or the information event that you had with Carol, and I was listening to the questions, and for me it was like I'm in a totally different world.
Yes. Well, I don't think it has much to do with the business itself or what HR is doing. I think it has more to do with the fact that if you're, let's say, from previous generation, if you're in your 50s or 40s in Bulgaria, and you have like, I don't know, 10,000, 20,000 euros in a saving account, what can you invest in? how many options do you have for investment?
Real estate, of course.
Can you invest in Launch Hub or 11? No, because the minimum ticket is like 220,000.
I didn't know that, but
50,
I was
euros.
about to ask you. Okay.
Can you invest in U.S. stocks or like blue chips or whatever? You can, but how well do you understand Apple, projections and product lines and whatever? You don't. So, can you invest in your business or in some others' business? People's business? Maybe not, because maybe you're not on that path. Do we have a well-functioning stock market that you have like thousands of companies that you can buy like 2,000, 3,000 shares? We don't have. So our stock market didn't continue growing post 2008, 2010, the crisis. So actually, we were left without a functioning stock market, which is the majority of people around the globe invest their money. So they invest their money in the stock market. So you're only left with real estate. So you can buy a garage, or you can give it can be the first payment for your mortgage or something like that. So it's not a lot of options, which is why we're left with like 3,000 or 4,000 active investors on the Bulgaria Stock Exchange. Can you imagine? 3,000-4,000 people are the active investors. So
we have more readers at the Recursive.
Yeah. so it's like
wow. Okay.
This market can grow like 1,000, 10,000 times.
Especially now with the new BEAM
so it's
procedure. So I hope that they will be attracting also,
it is attracting in each IPO on BEAM. What we see is newcomers to the market. So in each, starting from Build It in January 21, which opened the door, each IPO has like 200 or 300 new people coming, which for the first time open a broker account. So it's like a start of a trend, which of course will grow. Another thing which will facilitate is, right now it's easier to buy crypto than to invest on the Bulgarian Stock Exchange.
Well, you don't want to do it right now, but
no, it's a good time.
It's a good time. True for buying it.
So you need to go physically, get in line, sign some papers. You can do it in digital as well. And I had some people calling from the UK and the US, like, how can I buy stocks from HR Capital? And I'm like, I don't even know. It's like, I know it's a nightmare. So it's like, it also, obviously the technology and the process will be eased. And this will also attract a lot new investors to the market. So it's a good thing, because you cannot have a functioning economy without a capital market. It's I don't even speak about the startup ecosystem. I mean the whole economy. It's one of the most efficient ways to fundraise.
True.
And also, it's one of the reasons we did it. It's the whole VC ecosystem consists probably of, let's say, not more than 100 people.
In Bulgaria?
Yeah. Being the investors in the VCs.
Even the LPs of the VCs?
Yeah, I mean the LPs.
So, okay. So we're raising all in all from 100 people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you have EIF is, let's say, probably accounts for, 60% of the money. Fund of funds accounts for 30%, and then 10% is from individuals. And so all in all, it's 100 people. In 11, we have 60 LPs, which is like a huge number. It's maybe almost everyone that invests. So double that number, it's 120 people. So, which means that the success that the most innovative companies are going to get is going to be shared among only 100 people.
Okay.
So only if you're one of these 100 people, you can be a part of the success of Payhawk or of GTM Hub or of whatever. That door is closed for everyone unless you're so lucky.
And how many investors do you have now at HR Capital?
600 were at the IPO.
So you basically opened the door for 600 more people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not only us, Impulse, they are also investing in companies from the technology and innovative space. So it's like if you put together their investors and our investors, maybe it's 10x the size of the VC LPs.
Well, hopefully these 600 will now come to the taste of, doing even more in the startup ecosystem. And
totally, because these 600, if we're doing our job well, and they have 10, 20, 30, 50% of increase in their investment, they're going to tell the story to another 600.
Exactly.
And it's and this way, when you read about Payhawk becoming a unicorn tomorrow in the Recursive, you're not going to react like you have no vested interest. You're like, what is this? It's these guys. I don't know them. I cannot relate at all.
I can't understand it.
When Apple posts its earnings and the stocks, go soaring, like you have maybe, I don't know, 10% of Americans that are cheering and are happy, and they're living the American dream, and they're saying, this can only happen in America, blah blah.
Yes.
So you have a much more vested community, and this brings forth many positive things. So it puts more spotlight on the innovative ecosystem.
Yes.
Because tomorrow, when we come to policy making and to government making decisions, it will not be so easy to, let's say, be a proponent of innovation, of startups, because no one has actually seen it. It's so I think this will be the main criteria will be how many people are invested in a unicorn, be it a direct investment, be it an investment through fund, or be it an investment through fund of funds. And if the answer is 10 or like 100,
yes,
it's not a very, very good answer. If it's 10,000, then it's great.
Okay, so you found a very interesting way to expand this bubble that we often, speak about in the startup community, which I find very fascinating. Let them read the Recursive, by the way. It might be interesting for them.
Totally.
In any case, they were probably also convinced by your track record already as an angel investor and also as a partner at 11. And
maybe. By the way, this is also very important. There is a direct, correspondence between the Recursive audience and the people that are, relating to the ecosystem. Because I see it now happening with HR. So the investors in HR Capital, they start, following and being aware of what is going on with the portfolio companies. Before, now I see them, picking for all of the information that they can find.
Cool.
So once you have a vested interest, then you start searching for more information.
Okay.
Because this information can basically affect your income, your net worth, and whatever. So it generates demand for such content which didn't exist before. What do you care? What do you care that eBay has posted record sales? You don't care. You want your vegetable and your fruits to be served well, to be on time, to be good quality.
And knowing the local mentality, I can also imagine that a lot of people will even envy them just for
absolutely, totally.
Exactly.
So they will be like, They post record, but I so much hate the tomato that they brought me last time.
Exactly.
Now it's the opposite. Now they post earnings, and you see a lot of people. Oh, if this is this, then. So it's
I like this principle.
Yeah.
Very much like this, but we need to find even more ways to do that.
Totally. And also we have to give super big credit to Auterco,
Yes.
which have done an amazing job.
Yes.
To Telelink, which have done an amazing job. To all the companies that are to 11 Capital on the stock market doing amazing job. Dronamics, yeah. But I mean, even going further, like going back some time.
You developed the taste in investing in startups even before that, but you're not just an investor. This for you it's not just a business. I mean, you're actively involved also as a mentor. You're actively involved in the board of Endeavor, which also has a very interesting mission, which is a lot, related to business with impact. It's not just meant sustainability. It's actually in a much broader sense. This give back mentality that you developed over time, where did this come from?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you want to support the ecosystem so much? I'm going to ask it very bluntly. Why do you believe in that?
I'm not sure where it came from.
Because you're not an engineer, you're not, you developed a taste for this, tech world from a different perspective.
I've always been a very inclusive player. So I've always liked. It's a very good question. When you achieve success at a very early age, because I launched the site, I was 21. Then I launched. Then we started launching sites every year, and they were, literally overnight success. So maybe by the time I was 25, I had already launched, I don't know, 4 or 5 sites, and so the digital business was doing well, but I had already started like some other 2 or 3 businesses, which some of them I exited. So they were also, some were a failure. But so when you have success early on, and I guess when you have the family background that I have, which is not, not having to worry about what you're going to eat or what you're going to drink, or I've been traveling the globe since I've actually lived for 5 years in Libya when I was 3 to 8 years old, when this was back in communist times here in Bulgaria. So wow. I've lived my whole life with very easy access to the world, to seeing how people live outside of the country. So I never experienced, let's say, this scarcity that maybe the previous generation had. Yes. Like where you don't have bananas, or where you have to get in line for a car and wait for 5 years. This I've never seen. And and I guess that's why I don't have the sentiment that if there is an opportunity, if I don't fight the other guy, he's going to take it. So it's more of an inclusion and sharing. It's okay to share. Also, I think it comes to the point that I'm more or less second generation entrepreneur.
Yes.
So I've not all of the times, but let's say in 90% of the times I've had a partner. And when you have a partner, you're much more inclined to discuss, to share, you're much more open to the discussion, rather than if you're a solo entrepreneur and you've had to fight your way and make way on the table, for you to eat something. So I guess that's and I'm sure almost all of the people that are engaging in their new endeavors with a partner and with the support of the ecosystem are going to be feeling the same way towards giving back to the community.
We're now chasing the first Bulgarian unicorn, right? And why is this event of importance for the Bulgarian ecosystem? Why would that matter? Especially now that the list of unicorns worldwide is, I think, over 800 or even 900.
Yeah. So I'm not sure it's that important for the local ecosystem. I think the ecosystem is evolving just fine up until today, even without having up until last week unicorn. So I
would have some additional offline questions.
So this didn't stop us from creating great companies. This didn't stop us from expanding globally. I think it's the bigger importance is from an external point of view to our looking at our ecosystem from Europe or the US. So I think the number of unicorns you have per market is sort of a validation in the eyes of the international investors that this community knows what they're doing. The ecosystem is evolving. It's mature enough. It's not. There is enough talent. There are enough people who have scaled a company from 0 to 1 billion, or to 1 billion to 10 billion. So this is one of the, let's say, questions we see and we get in terms of, yeah, we like everything, but do you have enough talent over there? Do you have enough people that have built an international sales machine or a global business? So I think it helps from that perspective a lot.
Yes,
it helps from that perspective a lot because it's like it's a little bit when it comes to unicorns, it's a little bit like the Grand Slams in tennis. So you can have won Sofia Open for 20 times or like Queens or even a Masters or Cincinnati, but at the end of the day, the only metric that exists in the world of tennis is Grand Slam titles. That's the only one, and it's the only one persistent over time. Because Nito finals, now they're called Nito. Before they had another name. Now they're in Torino. Before they were in London. Before they were in Shanghai. But it's the Grand Slam events that are all the same, that they've been for like more than 100 years. Wimbledon is like 120 years, and this is the measure by which you're measured. You can be a great tennis player, but if you don't have one Grand Slam, it's you're not a great tennis player. So. So it's a little bit in the unicorn, race. It's a little bit like that. You can be a great ecosystem. You can have wonderful companies, but show me the number of unicorns you have per market, and then per capita, and then everything else.
So it will also help us, sell the region to international stakeholders.
Totally.
Much better. Okay.
Totally. And I double what you say, that it's from one hand very important for Bulgaria to have, it's like 5-6 unicorns, but also it's also as important for Romania and Greece and Turkey and Serbia to have each like their 5, 6, 10 unicorns. It's super important as a region.
Yes, I definitely see that, this integration must actually happen on many, many levels, and it's bringing us all new opportunities and value.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yes. When we were at Super Venture with Valerie from 11, and they were comparing the ecosystem, the European VC ecosystem, like maybe then 2005 or 10 or something like that. And the way they were comparing is the unicorns.
Okay.
And back then you could see like only a couple of flags or like 10 flags. Now it's all over the place, and one of the places is Romania, and they emphasize that. So they emphasize that UiPath came out of Romania.
There is something bubbling there.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's like they're like, Romania?
Such a surprise.
Yeah, so to stress a little bit more that innovation is coming from everywhere.
Yes.
And that you can, you don't want to have missed on that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. I know that by default, you're very optimistic about the future.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that in other conversations and you're always so excited, like what is coming next. But in this regard, I have this final question and we ask it to all our guests. And it would be, what do you want to be remembered for after all? I mean, you have so many passions and they change over time and then you become hungry for something new. But if you have to draw the line?
It's a very good question. The last book I read, The Diamond Cutter, they say that in Buddhist teachings, death is as important as birth. So end is as important as beginning, and it's actually 1/3 of the journey. So and it's always nice to look backward as if this is today and ask yourself the same question. And I guess the way I'm answering it today is to have built a great family, to have taught my views on the world as much as possible to the next generation in my immediate circle, my family and my related ones, and to have extended that to a larger family, which is of like-minded people with whom you're somehow involved in doing business or helping solve their business issues and stuff like that. So I guess these are the three main so family, relatives, and extended family, which is not only like partners but like a little bit
feel close to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry that this conversation must be over now. We will have to do it again because I have the feeling that with you I can speak about so many topics and I catch you. You're always running, always doing so many things. I would like, at some point to have like a whole evening like talking to you about stuff like
stand-up comedy.
Exactly. So it's been the first time. I really hope that you will be our guest sometime soon again.
Sure.
There will be a lot also to discuss, especially now that we're democratizing the access to the innovation ecosystem.
Totally.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
The Recursive podcast will be back with a fresh new season on the 22nd of March. Until then, we invite you to check 30 inspiring conversations with tech leaders from Southeast Europe on our YouTube channel or your preferred streaming platform. And if you are just as passionate about innovation as we are, hit subscribe for the Recursive podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. We're everywhere.